We begin tonight with breaking news as the former head of the Tennessee State Health Department's vaccine program says someone sent a muzzle to her office just days before she was fired. Dr. Michelle Fiscus got the package sent from Amazon. It came to her sent just after she put out a memo reminding doctors across our state that children older than 14 can get vaccines without parental permission if the doctor signs off. That led to her being fired. Fiscus reached out to Homeland Security to investigate the shipment, but was told it'll take a court order to track down the sender. Dr. Fiscus decided not to take that route, but tells Fox 17 News she is alarmed by the threat.
Well, here's the thing. We've got some folks, Democrats and pediatricians, who say that state Republicans are putting kids' lives in danger. Now, this fallout started at least about 2 weeks ago when state Republicans called for the dismantling of the health department. And some Democratic lawmakers and pediatricians I spoke with today say pulling back on the vaccines is playing a very dangerous game with the lives of our children.
When you have advertisements like this.
This is Republican lawmakers 2 weeks ago in a heated meeting with the health department.
I'm one here who sits very skeptical of the Department of Health right now. Very skeptical, and for that matter, leadership.
And here are Democrats today firing back at Republicans who they say pressured health department higher-ups into pulling back on child vaccines and to fire the state's top vaccine leader, Dr. Michelle Fiscus.
The governor allowed a political firing of the person charged with immunizations. It's just unconscionable.
At the center of all of this is the Tennessee Department of Health ads promoting the COVID vaccine for kids and an old state law that allows a child as young as 14 to get vaccinated without parental permission. Republican lawmakers say the department went too far. Well, Democrats say it's Republicans who've crossed the line, interfering with the health department's mission to keep kids healthy.
Because as you all said, that this move is playing with the lives of everyone. So as lawmakers, what is your plan and response and answer to what's happening right now?
But we plan to keep pushing back and keep trying to bring legislation that promotes healthy public health policies.
I asked the governor why he allowed Dr. Fiscus firing and the health department to cave under political pressure. The office responded with vaccine statistics, but not with an answer to my questions. Pediatricians not happy about it.
Do you believe that health has become too politicized?
There's no question that politics play a role in our everyday life now more than ever before. 10 years ago, this would have been unheard of.
Hi, Representative Sapicki.
I then called Representative Scott Sapicki and Senator Janice Bowling, prominent critics of the health department who called for its dismantling. Neither called me back.
So what happens now to your kids, especially as we're approaching the school year? Well, I did reach out to Metro Schools, which did have a vaccine drive for students, which we're going to show you in just a bit. A spokesman tells me despite the political climate, they plan to remain committed to educating and vaccinating children and families.
These are just some of the emails I received from the state's former top vaccine official, the state telling her not to bother with outreach for vaccinating children.
Less than half of Tennesseans are fully vaccinated. That's according to the state health department. The woman who led the vaccination effort at the Department of Health, Dr. Michelle Fiscus, fired this week. Days before Dr. Fiscus was fired, she tells me someone sent a muzzle to her office. The Fiscus family believes someone sent it as an apparent threat, telling her not to talk. In a statement, Dr. Fiscus says, in part, I have been terminated for doing my job because some of our politicians have bought into the anti-vaccine misinformation campaign rather than taking the time to speak with medical experts. Dr. Fiscus says back in May and June, state leaders were concerned about a memo from Dr. Fiscus encouraging children to get vaccinated. She spoke with CNBC earlier today.
This is a vaccine preventable disease, and there's no reason for anyone in this country to die from COVID-19.
In emails obtained by Fox 17 News, a June exchange between Dr. Fiscus and state leaders showed the decision to hold all program communications about vaccines until further notice. In a July email, officials tell each other not to start anything new for the time being on childhood vaccines. A few days later, Dr. Fiscus asks if she's able to send out a release since August is National Immunization Awareness Month. State officials responded saying no outreach at all regarding any vaccine.
To gag the Department of Health and not allow us to message to parents that that they might need to get vital vaccines for their children is, I think, malpractice.
Fox 17 News also received a situation report from the Department of Health saying, per Dr. Piercy, the health commissioner, we may not hold any immunization events in or on school property. Dr. Fiscus adds she will not sit quietly while our public health infrastructure is eroded in the midst of a pandemic.
The state and Department of Health have remained silent and refused to give an explanation behind this decision.
You see that big white spot in Josh Hubbard's eye? That's ocular melanoma, cancer.
And it was treated with radiation, which weakened my immune system.
His wife and the mother of their son, Xander, well, she's fighting cancer too.
And in November of last year, my wife was diagnosed with multiple myeloma.
Your doctor has told you you cannot return to work.
That's correct. We have statements from her oncologist flat out stating that she is extremely high risk.
She was a nurse. He worked in IT as an independent contractor for 6 years.
It means I was contracted through HP, IBM, National Guard. In 16 years of working, we've never been in a position like this.
But right now, the Hubbards say federal unemployment is their only lifeline.
It's so wrong and it's so immoral.
Representative Gloria Johnson of East Tennessee.
What would you say to Governor Lee about the decision to end this federal supplement?
Stop talking to billionaires and special interest and corporation CEOs and start talking to real Tennesseans.
Governor Lee joined 24 other Republican governors in ending Tennessee's participation in the federal pandemic unemployment compensation program 2 months early. This also cuts off help to independent contractors and gig workers like Hubbard.
We live in rural Tennessee. The job opportunities out here are not what Governor Lee says they are everywhere else. I mean, there might be 1,000, 1,500 jobs in Knoxville or Nashville, and there's maybe 10 or 15 out here.
The pro-business move, Lee says, will incentivize the unemployed to return to work, since some make more on unemployment than they did working in hotels, restaurants, and other hospitality jobs.
I just think he's sorely mistaken, and these brutal tactics to get people to go back to work at low-wage jobs are quite frankly it's a lack of a moral compass.
I asked the governor about scenarios like the Hubbards and if at any point he'd consider reinstating the federal unemployment. Spokeswoman Casey Black responded, "We're focused on helping Tennesseans find meaningful employment and moving away from short-term federal fixes. There are no plans for that to change."
I just want Lee to list. I don't understand why people think that the $300 is an incentive to not work.
Frustrated people in Indiana sued their state and won. A federal appeals court just this week is ordering Indiana to reinstate federal unemployment. With this new court precedent, I asked the governor if Tennessee should reinstate the federal program to avoid using taxpayer dollars for a potential legal fight. The spokeswoman answers, "I don't have anything to pass along as it is related to another state's court system and has no bearing on the Tennessee court system." It's important to note I've been in touch with this large Facebook group, Tennesseans Against Benefits Ending Early. They're working right now to file a similar lawsuit against Governor Lee and Tennessee.
It's hard to go from making $1,200 a week to $300 and make it work, but we did. Now we have to go from $300-400 a week to nothing. And we're being told we're not allowed to go back to work.
Now, I've crunched the numbers to see if stopping the federal benefit is having the desired effect on filling those job openings. Last week on the Jobs for Tennessee website, we had more than 269,000 job openings. That number has dropped by about 1,000, as you see. We're now at about 268,000. I will continue monitoring this as well as the potential lawsuits coming against Tennessee.